Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. First off, I just wanted to introduce you to this guy. His name is Fornax. He is a paladin, a prot paladin, a protection paladin, and he's actually on my YouTube webpage. He's one of the characters that I mentioned and I thought I was going to use at one point for a video or two. And here he is. I just wanted to make an introduction to him before we start. Now, the footage in this video, it's some of the pre-Cataclysm launch quests. I just wanted to have some interesting footage running in the background while I was talking about this, because we are going to talk a little bit about questing in Cataclysm, and later on we're going to talk a little bit more about the raiding team that I'm trying to build. Now, come Cataclysm in a week, I am going to go in and level my main Sial through the 5 Cataclysm high-level zones, and I will be recording everything, and I will be putting out videos of the entire questing of all these zones. Now, I will probably be cutting out some of the traveling, at least back from a questing area, and talk a little about the progressing storylines as you go through the story in the zones, because in Cataclysm, an entire zone is basically an entire quest chain. There are, for example, in vashj'ir, there are about 175 quests in all, and they're all basically one giant quest chain. So we're going to talk a little bit about, as we're progressing through this zone, what's happening with the story, and hopefully I'll be able to compress it in such a way that it's not going to be 50 videos of each zone. Of course, as you know, Sial is an alliance, so we are going to see this from an alliance standpoint. I don't have any high-level hordes, so I can't go in and do horde afterwards and see the subtle differences between the two sides and the quests. I've also mentioned in some videos, previous videos, that I wanted to make a leveling, well, not leveling guide, but we would just follow a character from level 1 to 85. I'm not sure, actually, I've thought a lot about it, and I'm not sure I want to do it that way, to be honest. I'm thinking instead of doing a little bit different approach to it. And what I'm instead thinking about doing is going in, and I'm going to create a goblin and a worgen hunter. Now, of course, these have their own questing zones up till about level 10, but from level 10, there are basically all other zones in the game. And starting with all the level 10 zones, and then as they come along in level difficulty, and doing all the horde quests and all the alliance quests, and finding the subtle differences, some of the fun things in the quests I'm gonna film. And at least in the beginning zones, at least the level 1 to 60 zones, will probably all be covered in one video per zone. And you'll see footage from both the alliance quest chains and the horde quest chains, and we're gonna talk a little bit about how does the story progress individually from each zones. Now, some of them there will probably be pretty similar. In other zones, there is a huge difference between the quests, because it's a huge combat area. And in other zones, again, you might not even have any quests with one of the factions. And if that's the case, we're just not going to cover them. We're just going to look at them and see how they compare into the complete story, into the battle between the Horde and the Alliance. Now, just to mention how we would do it, as an example, in level 10 you have zones like Ashara, Darkshore, and Loch Modan, and we would do them all the level 10 zones first. And then, when we're done with them, you have level 14 zones. You have zones like, well, the only one you have at level 14 is Ruins and Gilneas. Level 15 you have Red Ridge Mountains. Level 20 you have Ashen Vale, Duskwood, Hillspread, and Wetlands, and so on. We're just going to take them at a level difference, which means some of the quests we're actually going to gain experience and leveling characters. Some of them we're going to get to a point where we're not going to get any experience for the quests because we're too high level, but it doesn't matter. And this, of course, they will reach level 85 at one point, although it's going to take a huge time. And it doesn't matter, because what we want to look at is the difference between the zones from the Horde and the Alliance perspective, not so much about leveling the characters. And to be honest, I like this idea better than just leveling a character from level 1 to 85, because that can be pretty boring. It's much more interesting to look at a zone, analyze it, and see differences and such, like we're gonna do. So to be honest, I feel way more excited about that series than the actual leveling series. So I'm looking forward to trying it. And now let's talk a little bit about raiding and the raiding team I'm trying to set up. I've gotten a lot of questions, and a lot of people do seem interested in this, and I've actually gotten some what I consider to be pretty interesting news, and something that I'm actually very excited about, and you're probably gonna learn a lot more about it over the next couple of weeks and months. And well, I'm gonna tell a little bit about it. It's nothing that is written in stone or anything yet, so I'm not gonna mention any names of any kind. I'm just gonna mention it, and we can talk about it.
How are you?
Now, I've gotten a couple of questions I just want to go over a little bit. First of all, I'm not asking anyone to move their main. You are going to create an alt, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but we might actually not end up doing it on the server where my main is. We might actually end up doing it on another server, and if that's the case, I am going to be leveling up an alt also. Now, like I said, I will explain a little bit more about that later on in the video. A couple of people mentioned they were a little bit concerned when I talked about wanting people to be serious while we were raiding, when we were doing the bosses. People misunderstood what I was saying, because what I meant when I said that I wanted people to be serious while we were raiding was basically what you're doing now. I mean, most raid teams today, you're having a little bit of fun, but okay, now it's boss time. Let's focus a little bit, let's get this guy down, and then we can continue with the jokes and all that later on. And that's exactly the same thing I was looking for. I want people to, when we're talking on voice chat, it's going to be about the boss and not necessarily a joke or anything like that in the middle of a boss fight. But when the boss fight is over, we can continue on bad jokes and all that stuff that you usually do on voice chat that makes raiding fun and interesting. And let's face it, if you're joking and not taking the boss seriously and all that while in the middle of the boss fight, you're probably not going to be a part of that raid team for much longer anyways. Another thing that a couple of people were a little bit concerned about was that how would I feel having women along on the team? And the answer for this is very, very simple. I don't mind women to be a part of the team at all. And the reason why I don't mind having women in the raid party is very simple actually. I know as soon as I'll mention this, I do have a couple of guildies that do watch my videos, and I'm very happy for that, and I do like the fact that they are backing me up and all that. But what I'm gonna say now, I am gonna shoot myself in the foot. They're not gonna let me forget about this, trust me. But the reason I want a couple of women in the party is quite simple. I do believe that women are better raiders than men. And now here's why. I do believe that women are better at following instruction and following orders. Because when I'm trying to make a raid and trying to make a boss fight, and I have a specific tactic and I want something to do one specific thing, and that might really not work out perfectly the first time, and it's because a timing might be off, whatever it is, but a guy can sit down, and I've done this myself, a guy can start to think, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, you know what, I have the right thing to do, and I'll do that instead. And of course, suddenly, the person that I have given a specific job isn't doing that job, so we fail, and I don't know why. And this is one, I think women are better at, well, when they're given a specific task, they are going to do everything they can or die trying. And I believe that is why women are, in general, better rated than men. And now I'm gonna be sure that all the women in the guild are not gonna make me forget that I said this, so. But okay, I can live with it. I know a lot of you have thought about this could be fun. I have actually gotten a few mails or a few private messages through YouTube earlier about if it were possible for people to come in and play with me sometimes. So I know there are more people out there that would like to give this a try. So don't be afraid. This is not going to be a professional team in any way. This is all about having fun. If we're gonna fail miserably, well, that can be fun too. We're just gonna have fun, hopefully. So go on and join. Send me a message or an email to the mail address. I'll write it on the screen, and it's also going to be in the video information box. Let me know, what do you play? What's your class for your main character? And it's not because I want you to move that character. Like I mentioned earlier, you're going to create an alt on the server wherever we're going to play. I just want to be able to see a little bit about what's your experience when it comes to raiding and playing in general. So go ahead, throw me an email, let me know. We are right now in dire need of tanks and healers. That's the biggest problem right now at the moment. And just to mention some of the things we might end up doing. It might not all be about the latest raid and what's going on right now. One thing that I thought could be fun, for example, is to do Karazhan. And we would split the raid up in 2 groups. So we would have 5 people on each group with 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS. And it would be a race. We would start at the gate at the same time. And we're going to raid through, we're going to kill all the bosses, and who gets all the bosses down first. Now, a group might want to, well, some of the bosses can be soloed by specific classes. Well, they could split up to try to do faster. Of course, they would probably all have to meet in the chess room to do the chess team together. Or do you want to try to burn the bosses really fast down? Do you want to stay together? And going from there. And of course, recording it and having a little bit of fun, joking at the same time and all that, just to try something different. It could also be to go in and make ourselves a challenge. We're gonna 10-man to 25-man version of, I don't know, Yogg-Saron, for example, and the entire Old War instance. Or whatever we could do. It doesn't have to be the latest raids all the time. This is just as much about enjoying ourselves. I mentioned this earlier. This is because, to me, this is the most important thing of all, that we have fun. Now that announcement, quote unquote, that I mentioned earlier in the videos, is something I'm going to talk a little bit about now. It is of course nothing that is written in stone or anything like that, but I was contacted a few days ago, a gaming community website. I'm not going to mention which one because, like I said, nothing is decided or anything like that, but I might end up getting involved in this website. That would mean probably something like a blog of some kind. And what this would mean for this channel would probably not be that much. I would still do the same type of videos that I do now. This was actually one of the most important things from day one of this initial contact, and we've been emailing back and forth and so on. So what this will mean for this channel is not going to be that huge of a difference. I'm going to make the same type of videos that I do now. I'm not going to move all my videos to some other channel or some other website. This would still be the #1 spot for me to make my videos and put them up. But what it would mean is they did mention something about maybe wanting me to maybe host some type of, I don't know, news videos, or maybe some type of podcast, or maybe do some type of partnership with another video maker or a couple of other people that are involved in the community to maybe have some type of World of Warcraft segment, for example, of a few minutes or something on a weekly show or something like that. Now, of course, that would be posted on that channel. What I would do in those cases would probably be some short, if it were, say, like a 2-minute segment or something, well, that segment might end up going on my channel, and then you would have a link to the entire show, or if it were an entire show of 15 or 20 or something like that minutes, then you might have a minute or so of the show that is some interesting stuff that would get you to go onto that website and check that video out. So I would probably have something on that website, some type of audio stuff or a video stuff. And of course, that would be posted on the website's channel on YouTube. But I would also do something, like I mentioned, a minute or so from that show on my own channel that would get you to log on to the other and see the entire thing. So, and the chance of actually becoming an even bigger part of the WoW community is very attractive to me. I never thought that I might end up actually getting the chance of working even more with this. When I started to make videos about a year ago, to be a part of, or even a bigger part of the WoW community, it's very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about this, and I really hope that this will end up becoming something that I will be a part of. There's still a long way to go. The initial contact was not more than a week ago, so there needs to be a lot of details worked out and a lot of stuff figured out before I could actually announce anything. But I will keep you up to date a little bit on what's happening with this project and let you know if it's going to be something that is going to be a reality or it is something that is not. Though personally, I do hope it will be a reality because I've become really excited about the WoW community and I would love to be an even bigger part of it than I already am. Anyway, I am just about out of time, so I just want to say thank you for watching and giving me about 14.5 minutes of your time. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, push the yellow button or the little square in the bottom left corner of the video. And check out my YouTube channel and write me an email if you would like to learn more about the raiding team. I think that's just about it, so thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. See ya!